You can learn a lot about a place from its shadows. How high its mountains are, how dense its cities, how long its days are in the summer, and how short they are in winter. But sometimes it's not clear what a shadow means. Not too long ago, I saw this shadow on Google Maps, and I wanted to know its story. The shadow is on Novaya Zemlya, a Russian archipelago in the Arctic, where the sun never rises in the winter and never sets in the summer. I first saw it on Reddit in December 2025. In the comments, people had their theories: an antenna, a microwave relay tower, a lighthouse. But one explanation caught my eye most of all. It's a cross. Over the past few weeks, I've gotten obsessed with figuring out what this thing is. If it's a cross, what is it doing here, in the middle of nowhere? Are there more like it? And who are the people who put it there? Okay, so what do we know? The object was photographed by satellite on August 12th, 2025. In the next most recent historical image on Google Earth from March 2021, it isn't there, which means that it was installed sometime in that span of 4 years. Novaya Zemlya is an archipelago made up of two islands, Yuzhny Island and Severny Island. That's Russian for Southern Island and Northern Island. The object sits right in the middle, at the southernmost part of Severny Island. It's an island that has long served as a proving ground for Russia's strategic ambitions in the Arctic.
Взрыв сопровождался световой вспышкой необычной силы.
Just 50 kilometers away from this shadow is the 1961 test site of Tsar Bomba, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. Between the mid-1950s and 1990, Russia conducted a total of 132 weapons tests on Novaya Zemlya. Pretty quickly, I learned that Russia still takes an interest in Novaya Zemlya. On the Reddit post, one user linked to a 2024 article about a church building mission on Novaya Zemlya, and a project involving the placement of large crosses elsewhere in the Arctic. At the bottom of the article was this photo. The caption reads, "A huge cross was erected in Archipelago Franz Josef Land in 2023. Franz Josef Land is another Russian archipelago, 800 kilometers north. And the article mentioned another cross too, on the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, all the way over here. The caption goes on. Behind the initiative were the Orthodox Church, the Russian Geographical Society, and the Russian Armed Forces.
This is a geopolitical statement rather than a religious statement.
Because some of these, seem so remote. It's like, who is going to see this thing? Why are they doing it where they are doing it?
This is not new, actually, in the context of Russia, because, about the Arctic, in 2007, explorer Artur Chilingarov went to the North Pole and he planted the Russian titanium flag in the ocean floor.
Надо уметь и переносить то, что мы первые. Вот говорят американцы там, на Луну мы же ничего не говорили по этому поводу. А Арктика наша всегда была. И то, что мы там первые, это здорово.
But then Russians are doing something extra here. They are bringing their, religion-less symbols and trying to a bit provocate maybe.
On Svalbard in 2023, the cross wasn't the only Russian symbol. Look closer at these photos and you can see an orange and black ribbon. This is called the St. George ribbon. It's a Russian military symbol that's become an icon of support for the Russian war against Ukraine.
And already Bishop is very political.
In December 2011, Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, established a new diocese covering a vast area of the Russian Arctic, and appointed this man, Bishop Vladika Yakov, in charge. Bishop Yakov has traveled to the remote reaches of his diocese, erecting crosses and conducting symbolic blessings, including a 2014 mission where he installed an Orthodox cross on the North Pole. The front page of the website for Bishop Yakov's diocese features an illustration of Orthodox religious symbols reaching their way all the way up to the North Pole, along with a note from Bishop Yakov describing the diocese mission as reviving the Russian Arctic under what it calls the Russian Arctic Project.
He's a very important person, I guess, for Russia and for Russian Arctic.
This has become a regular part of the Orthodox Church's role in Russia. Church leaders bless soldiers, military bases, even weapons, with holy water and special ceremonies, and they're a key influence on public opinion about the war. Okay, so to recap really quick, under the title The Russian Arctic Project, the Russian Orthodox Church has partnered with the Russian military to plant huge Orthodox crosses in the Arctic. They planted one here in Svalbard and one here in Franz Josef Land. So it seems like that's what this probably is too. Here's the problem though. None of these websites actually confirm that or have a picture of it, and I wanted proof. So I came up with a plan. Hey, real quick, I've been kind of laser focused on reading about this one very specific story for the past few weeks, but most of the time I preferred to read about a variety of topics to keep my media diet balanced. Stories like why lawyers buy so many billboards, how people are renting sheep to graze land on solar farms, or how new platforms are letting people bet on basically everything. These are the kinds of stories that The Hustle covers every day in their free newsletter. They're the sponsor of this video. I've been a subscriber since January 2020. How about that? I've been a subscriber for all of that time because I love discovering stuff like this. I especially read it when I'm looking for new things to cover. It's quick, it's well written, and I always leave having read it with something new to think about or talk about or keep researching. If you like the kinds of stories I cover on this channel, I think you'll love it. If you go to the link in the description, you can subscribe to The Hustle and you'll get their latest trends report, and you can thank me later. Okay, let's get back to the video. We already have photographic proof of these two Orthodox crosses. If I could also find them on satellite imagery and their shadows look the same as this shadow, maybe that would confirm that this one was also laid down by the Russian Arctic Project. Svalbard is a remote Arctic archipelago. It belongs to Norway, but it's governed by a unique treaty from over a century ago that allows almost anyone to live and work there without a visa. In the late 1920s and early 1930s, the Soviet Union took over two settlements on Svalbard, Barentsburg and Pyramiden. Pyramiden was once the world's northernmost town, a Soviet coal mining settlement home to 2,000 people, but today, it's a ghost town. When the coal mine closed in 1998, Pyramiden was abandoned. Playgrounds and classrooms, a cafeteria and a gym, dirty dishes and paperwork, everything in the town is frozen in time. I found this video from August 2023 on the Russian social media site VK. It was posted by an account named Artur. It shows a team led by Bishop Yakov erecting a cross on the outskirts of Pyramiden. But as I looked closer and closer, I realized there was something weird about it. This pier and these smokestacks in the background match these visible in satellite imagery. So does this dark spot on the other side, which would place the cross right about here. But across multiple satellite imagery sites, it isn't there. As I read more of the Barents Observer coverage, I realized why. The cross was moved. The initial cross had been placed without Norway's knowledge, and the governor of Svalbard demanded it be moved. Artur, which is a state-owned Russian coal mining company that still runs operations in Pyramiden, asked for permission to relocate the cross here, inside the zone where Artur has land use rights. I tried to locate this second position too. There weren't many photos from news coverage, but because Russia has opened Pyramiden up to tourist activity, there are now plenty of geotagged photos on social media. And in some, I could see the cross at its new location in the background, between a wooden walkway and a small house, which would place it approximately here. It's gotta be here. It might be this line right here, or hidden by the shadow of the house, or maybe the satellite imagery is just outdated, but I couldn't find the shadow. It wasn't the proof that I wanted. We reached out to the governor of Svalbard, who confirmed that the cross had been relocated, but his office said, beyond this, the governor has no further comments about the case. Finding cross shadow number 1 was a bust. So I tried to find the next one. Franz Josef Land, an archipelago of 192 islands in the Arctic. It's the northernmost point of Russia, inhabited only by military personnel. In September 2023, just a month after planting the cross in Svalbard, Bishop Yakov led a ceremony planting a cross here too. I wanted to figure out where this was exactly. To verify that our original cross is one of these, we need to see this cross's shadow. So, back to Google Earth. The Barents Observer described the cross as on a peninsula on the southern coast of Alexandraland. That's this island here. And it said the cross was located about 60 kilometers away from the naval base Nagurskoye. A local Russian newspaper reported that the cross was installed on Cape Dvoynoy, but I couldn't figure out which cape that was. The Russian translation of Cape Dvoynoy led me to the Russian Wikipedia page for Alexandraland, which listed all of the island's capes, clockwise from the westernmost cape. I counted the capes and scrolled around. The closest I could find were these tire tracks. But it's quite possible that in most images, the cross is completely covered in snow. Cross number 2 was a bust. So I tried one more thing. Hey, it's Christophe from Tunnel Vision. I posted a message to New Press. New Press is the platform I'm building with Johnny Harris and Sam Ellis from Search Party, and we got some amazing responses. One New Press member, Charles Lund, found what looks like the shadow of a cross on a tiny 50-meter-long island on Novaya Zemlya. Another member, Lex W., found this one in Siberia. And another member, Finn Cullen, pointed me to the Bellona Foundation. It's an environmental NGO based in Norway, and I reached out to them to see if they might know anything. So I had a few new leads, but I still had the same problem. I couldn't confirm that this was a cross erected by Bishop Yakov and the Russian Arctic Project, which meant that I couldn't confirm that this one was either. But then I had one last idea. We know from news coverage that the cross placed in Pyramiden is 7 meters tall, and the cross in Alexandraland is 8 meters tall. If we could confirm that the object casting this shadow is also between 7 and 8 meters tall, we'd have some confirmation that at least it's the same size as the Russian Arctic Project's crosses. So I did some math. To figure out the height of the object, we need to know 2 things. First is the length of its shadow. With Google Maps, I measured that distance to be about 12.22 meters. The second thing is this angle, between the sun's ray and the shadow. That angle depends on where on Earth the object is located, and it also depends on when its shadow is being measured. We know that this image was taken on August 12th, 2025, and the shadow is pointing almost perfectly north, which means that this image was taken close to solar noon, which on that day happened at 11:28 a.m. local time, when the solar elevation angle was about 31.6 degrees. Plug those numbers in, and the estimated height of this object is 7.5 meters, just like the other 2. A while later, I heard back from the Bellona Foundation. A representative sent me a news article about an 8-meter-tall cross erected on Novaya Zemlya in April 2021 to commemorate the site of an 1822 Arctic expedition. If we drop down to the exact location of our original shadow on Google Earth, the horizon lines up. So there we have it. This is an Orthodox cross, 8 meters tall, put there in April 2021, 2 years before the crosses were erected in Svalbard and Franz Josef Land. Then I realized one more thing. At the very beginning of this whole journey, I'd seen this photo of a cross. According to the caption, it's a photo of cross number 2, the one erected on Franz Josef Land in 2023. But the terrain, the flags, the attendees, they don't match the photos of the Franz Josef Land cross blessing ceremony. They match the photos from Novaya Zemlya, which means I had a tab open with a crystal clear picture of our mysterious object almost from the very beginning. And from this angle, we can see who's behind it. Bishop Yakov and the Russian Arctic Project. But I still wanted to know why crosses. And towards the very, very end of working on this video, I found one more thing. A 2024 piece from The New Yorker that finally gave me a clue. The Pomors. They're a Russian ethnographic group based on the coast of the White Sea. For the better part of the last 500 years, the Pomors hunted and fished in what is now northern Norway. And they would leave Orthodox crosses wherever they had been, like this one in Svalbard from 1752. Inspired by that history, the Russian Orthodox Church has restored old Pomor crosses and erected new ones through initiatives like the Russian Arctic Project. According to the Svalbard Museum, the Pomors may have used these crosses as navigational aids. Today, hundreds of years later, they serve a different purpose. It's a symbolic one, and a geopolitical one, to assert that the Arctic is Russian. Russia, like every nation bordering the Arctic, has a major strategic interest in oil and gas, in minerals and rare earth elements, and shipping routes that are newly accessible as Arctic ice melts. And it's trying to legitimize its claim on those resources, not just physically, but symbolically. Whether it's planting a tiny flag at the bottom of the ocean on the North Pole, or putting a cross on an uninhabited island. Few people will ever see these symbols in person. But that's not really the point. These symbols are only as impactful as the amount of attention they're given. That attention includes mine. I saw something strange on satellite imagery, I tried to understand what it was, and I made a whole video about it. And I wonder if maybe that's the kind of attention they were counting on. Hey, thank you so much for watching. This was a really fun episode to make. I wanted to share a special shout out to Angelina Pankina. Right as we were wrapping up this episode, Angelina shared these incredible photos of the original cross on Nove Zemlya. Angelina found them via some Russian internet sources and shared them with us on newpress.com. New Press is a new website I'm helping build with fellow journalists. If I had just asked Angelina 2 months ago, this would have been case closed right away. This video would have been dramatically different with Angelina's help sooner, and it shows just how much a community like this can expand the horizons of what we do. You can go to the link in the description and join at newpress.com, where you can help me solve mysteries and tell stories and do more of the journalism that this channel is all about.